Welcome back, Justin.
Good to be back.
This is the second of a doubleheader recording night for us.
Yeah, man.
We just got finished recording The Outsiders, which I'm pretty sure will go up before this one.
That's what you would like to think.
Most likely. It will most likely go up first. But either way, it doesn't necessarily need to. It's just probably the one that will. So... gonna have to I hope you save some energy left for this one.
Remind me to never
got a bit of a doozy.
Volunteer myself for this ever again. If I ever come up with this idea on my own, tell me don't.
I make no promises of that because sometimes it may be necessary in the future. I'm not going to rule out the idea that this needs to happen again at some point.
Doubleheader One Piece, doable. That's just One Piece. Doubleheader, two distinct individual 2-hour-long feature-length films. My eyes, they're so heavy.
Well, this is also beyond the fact that this was your idea. You are your own undoing in that you had to watch both movies today as well.
Yep.
So instead of pacing yourself on those. And then you even decided to take it upon yourself to write the sheet for this movie for some reason because you just
in my brain,
entirely hate yourself.
Having to write 2 sheets, that's crazy.
I've done it before.
Madman.
Well, I mean, I appreciate you, but I was totally fine would have been totally fine doing this one. I had way more time today than you did to do it. So, but here we are. We watched The Menu for this recording. And it sounded to me earlier like you wanted to read your own summary.
Yes. I did one. Okay, I read mine the way I wrote it hours ago. Definitely stumbled through it. You made some minor adjustments that I did not go over after you told me that. So this is going to be an interesting read. But without further ado, it is 2022. All across the world, local municipalities are loosening up restrictions following the unexpected introduction of COVID-19. The general public can finally start partaking in their favorite activities, like touching grass, dining indoors, or even going to the movies. Speaking of all of that, 2022's September hit The Menu is a movie all about the things you love and hate about the restaurant industry and dining out. There's naturally great food made with the finest, freshest, and well-sourced ingredients, but there's also the elevated and borderline pretentious dining presentation, food critics, clout chasers, the never-satisfied guest, and, worst of all, the foodie. Things and people all obsessed with the experience around eating and dining, but rarely preoccupied about the food itself. The Menu follows the story of Tyler and Margaret, who take a private boat ride to a private island that houses a very exclusive and expensive restaurant run by chef Julian Slowick. The seemingly ordinary couple share a dining room with wealthy elites, a movie star, a food critic who gave Julian his claim to fame, and Julian's mother. With each course, our guests are given a distinctly curated plate of food, accompanied by curated wine, and a monologue from Chef Slowick. With each new course comes an increasingly uncomfortable atmosphere. On round 3, the sous chef who made the course drops dead. And if you thought that was the worst of it, you're wrong. There will be 5 more rounds of things so we can get much, much worse. I heard they're serving s'mores for dessert. And I also heard that I was definitely going to make, finish this summary with 100% completion. No trip ups, no flips. And that second to last sentence caught me for some reason. And that was a tragedy.
Yeah, you were right there. You were barreling through it just fine, and then you went to put 5 more things. Yeah, and that was great. Couldn't get through. Can never get through one. It's just ingrained.
I can never be first place. I'm just hard stuck silver and second.
Just so close to getting out, and then you're just not.
Far, it's tearing me apart. Anyway, The Menu from 2022. I never saw this movie. It was definitely on my radar, and then as per usual, I just forgot about it. And just never went out of my way to look a little harder to, watch the movie on my own accord. What about you? You have any prior exposures to this film?
I'm in the same boat as you, pretty much. I remember seeing this movie when it was advertised. on trailers or whatnot, maybe even before a different movie, like a trailer before a different movie I saw in theaters perhaps, but I did not watch this in theaters on my own, and so this was my first time watching the movie. I mean, from the trailers you get an idea of the basic premise, but the sort of twists and turns that the movie takes are obviously a little more nuanced for the film rather than being able to predict from the trailers. So yeah, I had been interested in the movie but didn't get a chance to go watch it in theaters, and then same as you, just never really got motivated enough / forgot about the movie and didn't watch it on my own time. So I'm glad that we're here now to have watched it. And because jumping into overall opinions of the movie at the beginning this time, because I forgot to do this last time, I like this movie. This movie was good. I think I enjoyed it wasn't not necessarily the most compelling thing out there. It has a message that it's trying to get across, and I think it does it well enough. It presents itself as this, maybe not necessarily mystery, but maybe that there is more mystery to it than we actually get. He's just a disgruntled chef who's fed up with the way society has treated him and his art form, and it doesn't really go like a whole lot deeper than that necessarily, even though they kind of introduce maybe there's more to what's happening on this little island. But either way, I enjoyed my time with the movie. I thought it was fun, and I kind of wish there had been more murder, honestly, outside of the grand finale. But
yeah,
that's neither here nor there, I guess.
This wasn't so much a horror film; it was definitely a thriller. And I don't know if I'm necessarily asking for more death on the table, because I guess basically everyone but one person dies. But I don't know. I think I would have imagined it to be like a Saw formula where like each round someone's gonna go down. Who could it be? Is it gonna be a sous chef? Is it gonna be you? We'll find out. It doesn't play out that way, which is for better or for worse. I can't tell. So I have basically the same opinions as you do about the movie. It's good. I like it. I enjoy the commentary it's making about just the restaurant industry and we as consumers and how we participate in the food industry, right? And I didn't watch the movie prior to today, but I did hear a lot more about the film in terms of like this meta commentary. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was the majority of what I did know about this movie. Like I knew far less about plot and far more about like these think pieces or interpretations of like what the movie's trying to say. That and the cheeseburger. The cheeseburger was like a meme for a couple months, and I really didn't understand why. I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure it was like a running, not a joke, but like I'm pretty sure I saw plenty of restaurants around our way going like, introducing the menu burger, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay.
That feels like somebody missed the point.
So there are definitely some restaurateurs who like try to capitalize on this film and just that cheeseburger for whatever reason. I mean, more power to him, I guess, but
it's just a fucking cheeseburger, dog. Like, there's nothing special about it. That's the whole point, is that it's just a cheeseburger.
And they're running off on that. They're like, bro, it's just a cheeseburger. I'm gonna maybe go try to Google, whatever restaurant, try to implement that, and get back to you. But yeah,
sure. I'd love to know who missed the point of the movie and just avoid the restaurant entirely, I guess.
But yeah, is there any other preamble we can do before we jump into the movie? I don't know. I wasn't, what's the word?
Not necessarily. I mean, I have different fun facts I can sprinkle throughout our time here. I guess, I could lead off with one that's kind of irrelevant to the plot, but just like a fun thing. Apparently, originally the role of Margot was going to be played by Emma Stone instead of Anya Taylor-Joy.
Interesting.
But she was not available at a certain point. I think she was cast pre-COVID, and I don't know if it was necessarily COVID that did it, but she became unavailable when they did actual filming. Once that happened, so they had to recast, and they ended up with Anya Taylor-Joy.
You know what? Call it serendipity. I prefer Anya Taylor-Joy in this film's role.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
Sorry, Joy.
I recognize that I said it wrong. Anya Taylor-Joy.
Because I could not imagine Emma Stone in this film. She doesn't. I mean, I've seen her in movies, not a whole lot of movies, and definitely not in a wide scope of genres that would, push her boundaries of acting. But I just look at her and I don't see like a thriller. Like her face being in this kind of environment just doesn't mesh in my mind. I look at Anya Taylor-Joy's face and she just has the perfect amount of emoting that just fits this film. Like she can go stone cold serious face. She can put on the oh my god I just shit myself face. She's got the range for this particular movie's tone that I just enjoy. But also she's just really pretty and I'm glad she's in this movie.
Yeah, I think I agree. Emma Stone does a lot of roles well enough, but I mean, maybe it's just by virtue of this is the version of the movie that we got with Anya in it. But I think I'm inclined to agree that she kind of fits the bill a little bit more than Emma Stone does. I cannot really, I mean, I'm sure she's done it, but I can't really off the top of my head think of movies of this kind of caliber that Emma Stone has been in and done well. Again, someone out there is definitely a bigger Emma Stone fan and has a different opinion of that. But I think Anya has done a little bit more of these kind of serious roles than Emma Stone. Maybe if we ignore her role as Princess Peach in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I don't know. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that. So when I read that, I was like, I think I like this version of the movie that we got better. I think it fits. And I think conversely, I think the casting of Tyler for Nicholas Hoult is like fantastic. He does really well at these like nerdy sorts of characters, and I mean, and that sort of thing is exemplified. Like I remember him as in X-Men. What's his X-Men character? Beast, right? Yeah. Him as Beast, like he in those like newer X-Men movies. Like Days of Future Past and First Class and all them. His casting there is like he's nerd science guy there. He's just nerd food guy in this one, and he plays that obsession up really well. So there could be comparable actors in this one to take his place there, but I think he does the job really well.
I think he's partially given the hardest role in terms of acting, but he also like just nails it. I think he's like the best actor in this movie, mostly just because of like he has a lot to do. Like he's got a lot of different emotions he's portrayed throughout the movie. He is somewhat of a focal point in the movie in terms of like you have the tone that is being set by the movie, and then you just have this guy just like you juxtapose him with the tone. And he's so like opposite end, and it's really funny. Yeah.
And the dialogue that is given to him, his lines, they do a really good job of getting you to dislike him at the beginning of the movie. Like right off the bat. Just in the beginning, the very beginning, when they're still like waiting for the boat and they're on the boat, it's like fine. But you get a quick glimpse into what the rest of his character is going to be like with the oysters that they get served on the boat and with the caviar on top, and he has that quick moment of like being super into it, and it's like fine, you can be into things like that. I don't care. Like you can have the passion for that sort of stuff, but then that's just like that's the tiniest tip of the iceberg for how deep exactly his obsession goes with not only food but also the chef. What was it? Chef Julian Slowik in the movie. So I think over the course of the movie, it starts early enough, but as the movie progresses, they do a really good job with his dialogue specifically and getting you to at least me to hate him. There are obvious reasons to hate him later in the movie, but like from the first course when they're actually sitting down in there, I'm like, oh my God, dude, give me a break. Come on now. I like food I like food. I like to think I enjoy food maybe a little bit more than the next guy, but I don't like food that much. Like this is next level here. The things that he's highlighting and he's like, I just all of the subtle notes and details of and talking about the finer. You know what really got me? Skipping ahead a little bit into the movie, we'll get to it again maybe. But when he's talking about how chefs live on the cutting edge of like playing with life and death, I was like, okay. This is like, I get being poetic and waxing poetic about stuff, but this is just so over the top. And this is a movie. And so that sort of sentiment is played up for the message that we'll discover later. But there are definitely people out there that think like this still. And I was like, this is just too melodramatic. I know that there's people who think like this, but come on. Like, it's too much. It's too much. It made me hate him immediately in that moment.
I think for me, it was very much a gradual progression where like he's an enthusiast and you're like, okay, whatever. Like you have your niche interests. And then he goes from that to like annoying. And then when did I start to hate him? When he like starts like talking down to Margot. Why do I keep saying Margot? Wait, no, did I say Margot this time?
No, you're right.
My brain is mixing Margot and Margaret interchangeably, and I hate it, and I can't pick one.
I don't know where you're getting Margaret from, but yeah, it's Margot.
He like, you know, talks pedantically to Margot, like, oh, you're acting like a child, or this and that, and I'm like, okay, now you're just an asshole. And then it's revealed that like he knew the entire time like what was going to go down in tonight's dinner, and then brought Margot with him anyway, because he just had to be here so bad, and they don't do reservations of one. And so that's when I'm like, oh, you're I hate you now. You volunteered someone else to die for this nonsense.
Yeah. That's like real end game of the movie revelation. And yeah, I mean, by that point, I had already strongly disliked this guy, even bordering on the hate part. But that, you know, obviously that seals the deal. Like there's no coming back from that. Anything else is like a good enough apology. With the way that he talks to her is just like, if you talk that one out for a decent enough amount of time and you're sincere, like you can move past that as people. But then to be like, yeah, I brought you here willingly, knowing that we were both gonna die, but I still wanted to eat the food anyway. It was like, oh, okay, sure. That's not cool to say the least. And then to find out later that she was hired. She wasn't even just like invited. She was hired by him to join him. It was like, whoa, okay. But all right, let's rewind ourselves a little bit towards the beginning of the movie. The beginning of the movie doesn't need to necessarily be harped on very much. It's really just character introductions, getting everyone on the boat. Sort of brief viewings of who is who. We've got a bunch of different cliques. There's the frat bros who just are there on the dime of some other rich person, and there's a couple older couples who we don't really know yet exactly who they are. One turns out to be a food critic. The other's just a rich old couple. We've got this seemingly washed up movie star who apparently I didn't even realize it because there's just a bunch of characters and you don't need to know their names, but he never gets a name.
Who?
He's just the movie star guy. I forget what the actor's real name is.
I had to have been once because I think I saw on the wiki. I'm pretty sure he gets name dropped in the movie a single time.
He's credited as movie star in the movie.
Yes, that is true. He is officially credited as movie star, but I know he's given a name because I read it. But yeah, they just credit him as movie star, which I think is just funny. I would like to ask John Leguizamo.
That's the name.
How he feels about that. It's like, how do you feel just knowing that like you're possibly the most famous like actor in that room, at least in my opinion, and you're just credited as like the guy?
That's a bold statement.
I don't know, man. I look at the people in that room and I'm like, I recognize certain faces, but I know John Leguizamo's name.
I mean, I'd probably it's John Leguizamo. I'd probably attribute it to Ralph Fiennes if I was the guy who's Chef Slowick.
I mean, I recognize him, but like I know John Leguizamo's name. That's if I know your name, I know you're doing something. You know what I mean? Especially him. He's like so much older. He's had a tenured career.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Either way, I have an answer for you, kind of. Not necessarily maybe how he felt about it, but short bit of trivia about that character and John Leguizamo's character. Officially, that character's name is George Diaz.
Yes.
But is credited as movie star.
Yes.
And while this trivia fact on IMDb doesn't go into how he felt about the movie, he does say that he based his character of washed up action star Steven Seagal.
That's crazy.
which apparently they have bad blood is like the reason. So in this movie, where he's playing a washed up action star or movie star and generally has to act as a shitty person, he channeled his beef with Steven Seagal and played Steven Seagal in this movie is like how he kind of has cooked this one up.
That's great.
So yeah. That was a fun fact that I read about that part. So yeah. Did I miss any of the other pairings? I don't remember.
I mean, you got the finance bros, you got the rich married couple, you got movie star and his assistant, and then we have Tyler and Margot. And then there's mom in the corner. I think it's just about everybody. Oh, and the food critic. And the food critic. We cannot forget about her.
Yeah.
Her and her editor are important, kind of pivotal. But yeah, that's everybody. Those are our groups here.
Yeah. So we get brief bits, sneak peeks of their dynamics at the beginning of the movie, and then on the boat again, where you just kind of you keep getting little peeks here and there into kind of exactly how they react to each other and just the dynamics within the groups themselves. We get to the island. We're getting this tour of the island now, and you're seeing a whole bunch of different set pieces that we're clearly going to come back to later at some point, like the smokehouse or the cabin, the chef's cabin that nobody goes into. And the whole time, obviously, they're setting up this kind of ominous tone to it, where every so often, basically every turning point of the tour, where, for instance, when they first get dropped off off the boat onto the island, and then the boat drives away, Anya's character Margot turns around and notices that, and then when they're at the smokehouse, it's kind of weird, and then they get into the actual restaurant, which is called the Hawthorne, and that big ass door closes, and again she takes notice of it. So the whole time you're already building up this sort of tension where something is going to probably go wrong. Obviously it does. And so then we're finally in the restaurant, where we get a whole beginning section, which turns out pretty normal, right?
Yeah, until it's not.
Until it's not.
So they get like an appetizer. I think everything goes fine there. I'm probably wrong. I'm now suddenly fuzzy on the details after watching this movie. They get like an appetizer, and everything goes fine there, right? Like people just like comments on it, but Tyler's just like nothing crazy going on, other than like Anya's like, I'm glad you enjoy this. I don't fully get it, but whatever. That's probably when he gets a spiel of like, chefs live on the edge of life and death and curating and blah blah blah. And she's like, oh wow, nice. That was really poetic. I think I'm starting to get the message.
Yeah.
And then Chef
was the
comes
first
out.
course, if not maybe the second. How'd you feel about the second course? Let me ask you that one. Breadless bread.
So I like carbs. So like
I do be liking my bread.
If I had taken this single course in a single moment out of the movie and applied it to the real world, if a chef had given me a speech / lecture about like the wheat makes up like 90% of today's agriculture, it's all going toward bread. Bread is, peasant
65,
food. It's used in everywhere. And use that to like make a point to like just kind of dunk on me for my privilege to like pay for like $1,200 dining room reservations. And then just use that to like, I don't know if this is true, but when I understood that, or how I understood that scene was, we're not making bread, but also here's this note card explaining why we're not giving bread. And I think it was implied that there's like a charitable donation made or something to that effect. I could be wrong there.
Oh, I didn't get that at all. I don't know about
maybe donation's a strong word, but I felt like they were highlighting like a I guess like an activist group in terms of like, oh, the wheat comes from this place and that place, and they work in making sure equitable conditions. That's my understanding.
I missed that part. I think I stopped listening after somebody was reading the beginning of the note, and they were talking about the bread that they made but didn't serve. The bread you're not eating was farmed here. The wheat or whatever was made here. It's this kind of bread, but I think they cut away from whoever's initially reading it and to somebody else. Maybe I don't remember. You could be right. I just don't remember that part.
I guess we'll never know. So
somebody will know.
If I got no bread but just sides, I mean, I try the sides, but I'm already like kind of like I'm pretty anti this. Like fine dining just really isn't for me. Like I'm okay with paying for an expensive meal if it's in a traditional format of like I get my plate of food and I eat my plate of food. The like curated like 8 to 13 course meal thing where it's like one bite. It's supposed to be like the best bite ever kind of thing. I'm just not here for it. Like all due respect to any chefs out there, especially people who do this kind of dining where you're really focused in on just like elevated flavors and the aesthetics of your plating and things like that. I'm a common man. All right. I am the peasant. All right. I am here for my food.
Sounds like you're wanting that bread.
Yeah, I want the bread, man. I'm just like, food is utility, and I can appreciate the other values can apply to bread in terms of aesthetic and technique and things like that. But I just want to eat my food, man. I don't necessarily want like Anya says it later at the end of the movie of just like I don't want an intellectual exercise. Or like if I do get one, I don't want it to be like my plate of food. You can hit me with stuff like trivia on the side after I've eaten normally or whatever, right? But I don't want to like approach my plate and be like, how do I eat this? You know what I mean? I don't want that. That's not the experience I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I'm a simple man.
I don't know. I think I could sit for something like this like once. There's the one old couple that has done this 11 times. I think I'd do this the one time to be like, to experience it, to spend the money like that and pretend I'm rich for a night and then experience something like that. I would be more inclined if it wasn't so experimental also. Like I'll go for a 7-course meal if I'm getting actual food the whole time, If I go to a private island if I were to go to that, if that restaurant were real and the chef were real and I were going there for something like this under normal circumstances, like the first 10 times the old couple went, not this time, obviously, where they have all these weird experimental things. I do that once for the fuck of it. But like regular, real high-end restaurants where you get like 7-course meals, it's not a lot of food, but it's this tailored thing. Like I think I would go back for that multiple times if it was good enough anyway. And also I just had the money for it, but the money is the main barrier probably. But otherwise I agree. I'm really just like, the food is good. I want the food to be good, but just like, let me eat the food. Like, give me the food. Yeah. And also I love bread as well. So yeah, I don't know. That one in particular I really wanted to know your thoughts on, because it's like the first course is seafood.
I would want to believe I kept an open mind, but I know who I am. And I would your heart be angry. Hearts.
Yeah. That's
be
more
so
or less
upset.
where I thought.
I'm like, listen, man, you don't want to serve bread in this establishment? Fine. That's your it's your restaurant, you can do what you want with it. Don't do me like that, bro. Just tell me no bread. And tell me
So what I'm
something
hearing
else.
is you're no better than the finance bros.
Oh no, I'm definitely better than those finance bros. No. Those
I don't know.
guys
They're
are
doing
clout
exactly what you
chasers.
said. They asked for the bread. Out of anybody there, they were the ones who were like, "Can we get some of that bread though?"
On
That's
the
you.
inside, I would want to ask, but like, if you're not serving bread, okay, that's fine. Just definitely don't give me dollops of like honey mustard, soy sauce, or whatever else is on that plate.
Yeah, I think one of the funniest running jokes in that, by the way, came out of the breadless bread section where they had the emulsion and the was one of the things on the plate, and then the food critic commented on how broken up it looked.
Go to hell. Her and her.
Oh, I mean,
yes,
all of
man
them
of
can
an
go to
editor,
hell. Yeah, I mean, they can all go to hell for all I care. If they were real people,
we'll
like
get
they're
there,
all.
This is a point of contention. I do want to bring up at the end, but yeah, the critic, straight to hell, straight to jail. Off with your head. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean, she's on the higher end of the list. The high end of the list is her, and then the finance bros. Her editor is just like a guy there to do his job, more or less. Just
I don't think so. I think
also he's like a yes man.
He's definitely a yes man. And when I was like looking at that, I didn't even know he was an editor until like I looked at the credits or whatever. When I was looking at him the entire time, I couldn't tell it like if he was supposed to be like romantically involved or not. I didn't know there was the relationship initially. I just saw him as like, all I could tell from my position was, here's this pretentious lady that he clearly looks up to or whatever, has some type of bond with, or is trying to forge a bond with. And from my perspective, it looks like he's trying to keep up with her, like quote unquote intellectually.
Yes.
But he's having a little trouble hanging in the ring because she's so fucking pretentious. And then I was like, I hate this. I hate the both of you.
Yeah, I mean, he's just at his core, he's kind of just a coward.
Yes,
like and that is made plainly obvious later in the movie with the man's folly course, and he's like, he just like the food critic lady is standing there because the women don't get to run, and then he is like the second or third person off the start line, and she's like, dude, what the fuck? And he's like, sorry, bye. And then I think they really beat you over the head with it when he's in the hen house. He's in the chicken coop. The chicken hiding in the chicken coop.
Okay,
I think that's really like that's the like really force it down your throat, I think, version of that. And then I wish I'd written down because he gets a snack.
It was an egg.
That was so.
I forgot what kind
it was
of
an
egg
egg-based snack.
Yeah.
It was like an egg-based snack, like whipped egg-based snack or something like that. But I thought it was so funny when he's sitting there with his knees up to his chest in the hen house, and the chef opens up the little feed hole and goes through with the plate. It's like snack for the last person caught, and that was
all right. All I'm gonna say
that really
is
tickled
being
me.
the last person caught means your strategy was like what was valid.
Solid.
It was solid.
Yeah.
And honestly, if those chickens didn't snitch, I think he was okay for a little bit.
But also, if God damn it. You think the chicken snitched on him?
Who else is gonna tell him?
Nobody. The chefs they just know. Like they're searching high and low. They've been trained.
The hen house of their own volition. Come on, man. The chicken snitched.
They had plenty of time. They were on the hunt. They knew. They'd clearly done their research. They live on that island. They know the ins and outs better than the back of their hands.
Bro, the chicken snitched, bro. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, the chicken snitched. There was something else I was going to mention, but now it's completely escaped me. I don't know what it was anymore.
I mean, we skipped ahead a little bit, but since we're talking about this event, shout out to that one finance bro who almost made it off. He managed to find a boat and get to the water. He just got before he could head out to sea.
He's also the first one who ran. He bolted off the starting line.
Smartest man in that situation.
The Chef Slovic hadn't even described. He was about to say something in regards to what happens when the chefs find you, because he goes, all right, the men are going to get a 45-second head start and you get to run. And if my chefs find you, and then that guy bolts off the starting line, interrupting him. And he's like, all right, So for all we know, it could have been like, if my chefs find you, you're dead. But they just didn't even wait for that part.
At that point in the night, what is there to wait for? You told me to get running, and there's a 2% chance I'm making it out. I'm running.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You said run, and I'm being chased by.
It's also interesting in this scene too, looking back on what we know about the movie at the end, where Tyler doesn't go anywhere because he knows that they're not gonna. He knows that they're not gonna die in that moment because the chef wants to kill everybody at the end. So he doesn't move.
But also,
and
since we don't know that yet. In my mind, I'm just like, wow, this guy's just really into this. What a fucking weirdo. Which I think I'm still kind of correct on. I think it's a little bit of column A and column B. It's like, well, I know I'm fine, but also, even if I wasn't fine, I'm good, bro. I don't want to leave. I want to stay right here with you, chef.
Yeah. I think, I mean, we already know he's too into it as he's there, part of the problem. It's acknowledged that like his obsession with this like tasting thing, especially where he's like, I gotta figure out all of the different flavor profiles of the thing that I'm not even eating, because I'm sure he did that when watching the show, the in-universe show or whatever, or maybe it's a real show, cooking show, whatever show that he says he watched like 3 times over. Clearly this guy is pretentious in the way that he like tries to figure out flavor profiles and stuff, and then it's made blatantly obvious that even though he makes all these assertions about food, that he doesn't know fuck all about cooking. So but yeah, I just mean like having the knowledge that he knew everything the whole time. Obviously, it makes his behavior earlier in the film up to that point much more understandable because he knows he's not going to die yet. Everyone else is freaking out because they think they can die at any moment. But he's like, I don't know, we're good for like another 3 hours, bro. I don't know what you guys are going on about. Because there's all these moments where shit happens. Like that one guy gets his finger cut off, and the sous chef blows his brains out in the 4th course. And he's just fine. He's just eating the food that's presented to them. He doesn't care. So you're just thinking at that point that he's a psychopath or is just like ignoring all of this for the sake of eating the food, which is, that part is probably true, but because someone killing themselves in front of you is going to be shocking no matter what.
What was crazy was during that course, what was that, number 4? I think it was number 4. No, number 3.
Where the sous chef kills himself?
Yeah, okay, that was number 4. I wrote it down here. Course number 4. So Tyler's off in his own little world, right? We already know he's crazy. Something's wrong with him, whatever. The fact that this food critic, Lily, I think her name is Lillian, whatever her name is, the food critic, the fact that she's just like, bro, she's huffing copium. She's huffing tanks full of copium. Where she's like, oh, it's just her and the other is like, oh, it's all part of the theater. Don't worry, that wasn't real. Everyone else just here like, bro, I know, I that's a dead body, bro. That's what do you mean? The fact that they were just so like, I don't know if it's in denial or just absorbed in whatever Tyler's huffing, but it was insane.
And in the background too, I'm pretty sure in one of those moments, the old couple who have been here 10 times, or at least the guy has, he's like, this is not the show. This has never happened before. You don't know what you're talking about. I've been here 10 times. Yeah. It was funny. I think, I mean, it's not entirely unreasonable. I think that's, part of, had the guy got his finger chopped off yet, actually? I don't think so.
It should be right after.
It might actually, you might be right because the 3rd course, I think, is when they try to leave, right? The old couple. No, third. Was it after?
3rd course is where they start. Yeah, it was after that. So it was like 3rd course. They introduce the chicken tacos where they get their tortillas that are 3D printed with a bunch of compromising information, which is so funny. Then they get the 4th course, and then after that, they're given like a 7th inning stretch, intermission, if you will, and they're given enough time to be alone with their thoughts. And then that's when Mr. Lee Brent, or I think his name was Ronald or some shit like that, he tries to leave. Elsa didn't like that very much and said, "Yo, pick a hand, or we'll pick for you." And they sent a message of, "There's no leaving." Or else. And so that one guy tried to run and they just kind of face planted, and then no one did anything to him. Anyway.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why there was no further repercussions for that guy, but
I don't know. I guess they were just I could not tell you. I could not tell you what happened there. That was a very odd moment, very disconnected from the logic of they've established, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, during this intermission, what's his face? Chef Julian asks Margot to meet him in the kitchen, I think, first. And he's like,
yeah.
So like, what's up with you? And she's like, what do you want about? He's like, well, you shouldn't belong here because she wasn't supposed to be here. Like officially, there's supposed to be a different woman here. They want to kill. She's not part of the agenda. She's a wrong place, wrong time kind of gal. And he's like, well, everyone's gonna die here tonight. So do you like want to die one of us, or do you want to die one of them? And she's like, bro, what does that matter if you just said I'm gonna die? He's like, nah, choices matter. You have 15 minutes to make yours. Then they have the chopping of the finger with that old guy, and then after that, Chef comes back out, and he starts giving a speech, and he kind of points out the problem, like explaining like the problem with the people there, and he's like, this is why you're here. He points out to the food critic of like, you just like have the power to ruin careers and restaurants and close them with a stroke of a typewriter or a pen or whatever. And he was just kind of like calling her out for her ego. It's like, yeah, you brush my ego, I brush yours. But you're just like so into like the exclusivity, the pageantry of all of this. You don't like enjoy food. You're just so, you're such a head ass about it. Says anything to the editor. He points out to the rich couple of like, you guys have been here. You know how many times you've been here? And he's like, I don't know, 5 or 6. He's like, you've been here 10 to 11. Can you name a single thing I've served you in those 10 to 11 times? Somehow not a single thought has come to their brains. And I'm like, bro, why do you even come back? What's the point? And the point is that they're just, they're not clout chasers like the finance bros are, but they're only like 1 degree off. They are there because it's just an activity for rich people to do.
They just have the money to be able to do it, and they get to flex that they've done it multiple times to their rich friends. That's like why they would do it.
So that happens, and then they bring out the angel investor, who is the boss of the finance bros. This guy, I forgot his name. Did I write it down? His name doesn't fucking matter. The angel investor guy, he owns the island, owns the restaurant, and therefore, as Chef Julian puts it, he essentially owns Chef Julian's life because that's his whole life's work. Everything is owned by this one man, except they put him in a potato sack, I guess, and then dress him up with wings, and then they proceed to drown him. And Julian's like, cool, I'm free now. You hear that, guys? The sound of silence. I am free. And so they continue with the night.
There are no strings on me.
No strings on me. It's on that guy, a couple feet under the lake. Which is wild. And then we move on to chorus number 5, where we meet Catherine. Did they go outside? Yeah, they step outside. Excuse me, to the entrance of the restaurant, where we meet Catherine. Catherine is a line cook for Hawthorne, and she reveals that Chef Julian sexually harassed her numerous times. He made sexual advances toward her. She denied him numerous times, and then she faced retaliation in the form of, well, 1, he's still her boss, but then 2, he just kind of pretends she doesn't exist, and that just affects your career or the daily life of being in the kitchen, right? Your head chef, not talking to you, not looking at you, blah, 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 affects you in all these different type of ways that they didn't say explicitly, but if you are, knowledgeable enough of, these awful things in the workplace, you can piece it together. And so this is when they start the game of first she explains her sexual harassment and explains but nothing happened because Chef Julian's a star and he can just kind of do that, making a big, massive commentary about what goes on in kitchens that we don't see and just how little repercussions there are, unfortunately. And so Chef Julian approaches her. She stabs him in the thigh, just like he stabbed his father in the thigh with a pair of scissors.
Can I just say really quickly?
Yep.
He introduces, they do this whole thing, and then he steps up and he introduces the course and he calls it Man's Folly. And then she, it's clearly leading up to some sort of retaliation on Catherine's part, and she stabs him. And I didn't immediately, I recognized that she had the scissor little toothpick things, the sharp little scissor things they use for the thighs. I thought she had definitely stabbed him in the dick.
Literally same.
I was 100% certain that she had stabbed him in the dick, specifically because it was a sexual harassment thing, and then they called it man's folly, and it was, it would be like he was thinking too much with the wrong head type of thing. Yeah.
And honestly, she should have.
It was poetic, but in a different way. And, she probably should have. But then they pan down to him pulling the scissors out, and it's in his thigh. And I was like, oh, okay. That's fine, I guess. Maybe a little slightly less graphic, but might have been more funny if it had been stabbed in the dick. But I digress. I just I needed to make sure that one was put out there, because I was convinced that he had got stabbed in the dick and not even flinched.
That would have been that's a story we should have told, but alas, a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
So then they move on to the men's folly thing, which you already mentioned. All the guys run, they get caught. While they're running, we go back into the restaurant with all the women just sharing some meal that Catherine made. And it's just really awkward because none of the ladies want to talk to each other, but like, what else is there to do? You're all gonna die. So Margot tries to, I guess, kind of break the ice in her own way. And then we
by revealing her name isn't actually Margot.
Yeah,
it's Erin.
Yep, Erin.
Yep.
She's from Massachusetts, not insert other name. I think that was like
Nebraska. Because at this point we had gotten the scene with her and the chef in the office or in the bathroom, whichever one it was. And, she explains to him that she's an escort essentially, and he asked if she had been with the old guy, the old couple, who, because she had been looking at them throughout the entire night. It's noticed at the beginning of the movie that she sees him and is like, recognizes him, and then she's staring throughout the dinner. And so then chef asks, do you know this guy? And yeah, she had done escort service things with him, and
specifically where he asked her, can you just pretend to be my daughter?
Yeah. Well, was it like pretend to be the daughter, or was it just that she had like similar qualities as their daughter? I don't remember.
A little bit of column A and column B. Be informed.
Yeah. Either way, it was weird. Either way, it was weird, because she was just made to sit there and stare at him while he performed sexual acts on himself. So is that
what happened? I definitely caught the first part of be there and stare at me. I really didn't think this is a sexual arrangement. I thought he just really missed his daughter and wanted a replacement.
No.
Okay.
Immediately following that was he wanted me to stare at him while he jerked off.
Wow. Okay. I really thought this was an attempt to be wholesome. Never mind.
No. That's why I was saying this is weird, that the whole daughter bit, because
I mean, it was weird.
It was definitely
just asking
a sexual
someone to
thing.
pretend to be your daughter. That's weird, and that's
yeah, but this is different level.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that clearly.
Yeah. It was yeah. So, and this whole thing is the chef Slowick is seeing this as a bonding moment between him and Margot, because they both service people, as he would put it.
Yeah.
So that's why he is having this moment where he's offering her to be on the side of the givers instead of the takers. The givers referring to the other chefs and not another book I read in middle school. So he is trying to develop this rapport with her on this sense, but she's not having any of it, and we leave later. So then, yeah, when we come back to the fifth course, where it's just the lady sitting around this table and she reveals she's actually Erin, it makes it kind of clear that this adds another layer to Tyler. Tyler's already a weird dude, but he's now hired this escort. Not only has he hired this escort, but he's hired this escort to pretend to be a girl he had a crush on in high school.
Oh, another thing I did not piece together exactly.
Whose name is presumably Margot Mills or whatever her last name was. Yeah, because her real name, Erin, So who's Margot? Oh, the whole time at the beginning of the movie, Tyler's talking about how Margot was, the cool girl in school and like his next door neighbor, even maybe. I don't know the extent of it, but so now clearly Tyler has hired this Erin to pretend to be Margot, which is another layer of like, ooh, okay. I mean, as the escort, you're not going to ask questions; you're just getting paid. But it's like, oh god, okay.
All right, the more I learned today. Also, when we get the reveal, it made me circle back to earlier in the movie where when he was like scolding her, he like made it a point of like, well, I'm paying, so like just shut up and listen. And I interpreted that as I'm paying for your meal, shut up, real douchebag stuff. And then you realize
2 layers.
Yeah, then they were like, oh wait, hold on, he's paying for something a little extra. So that was a thing. Right, there was something I want to say about that meeting in the office. I felt so like personally attacked when Chef Julian like reads the customer service experience off of Margot, and I'm like, bro, you didn't have to do that, all right? You didn't have to call her a shit shoveler or like call out like all the stresses and the crap that people in service industries have to deal with, because I felt personally attacked, and I didn't appreciate that. Working in customer service for like the better part of like, what is it, 4, almost 5 years? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Fucking
yeah.
Hey. So yeah, that was course number 5. They sit down with Catherine. I don't even know what she made them. They're eating it. The critic tries to like get in with her. It's like, hey, like me and you can
stuff.
Me and you can like work up an arrangement where you get a restaurant and I don't die tonight. And she's like, oh, well, it was actually my idea to kill everybody tonight. and she just throws up her hands like, give me that bottle of wine. I'm over this.
Yeah.
What a twist.
Yeah. It was kind of funny. Catherine's like, that was actually my idea. I'm like super proud of this. Actually, I thought this is my magnum opus. And then the food critic's just like, who wants more wine? And I think actually, I don't remember if it was at this point either or not, or if it was before or after. Either way, it's around this part where the old couple, the wife, asks Erin / Margot, I'm just going to keep calling her Margot, if she knows her husband. And Margot, with nothing left to hide, really goes like, I know your husband. She doesn't, to the wife's credit, doesn't ask any details, has kind of already makes the assumption, if the attractive younger woman knows your older husband, there's probably an implication there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's also that aspect. I think it happens during this dinner, but also, whatever, it doesn't matter that much. So then the guys are back and they sit down and we get right on to the 6th course, which is really just Chef Slowick going in even harder on everybody. But it starts with pointing out Tyler, who this whole time has just been like trying to put his best foot forward in front of the chef. Mm-hmm. Because he just really admires him, and he has had several blunders throughout the entire night, from taking pictures of the food to making a scene when he knocks over the glass. And now he's trying to put his best foot forward, and the chef has called him out. He's like really excited about it. And also Margot has kept getting called into private meetings with him, and he's like really self-conscious and self-centered about that, because like, oh, why the fuck do you get the special dinner meal or whatever, and you get to talk to the chef and shit. So he's been in a real bad mood. So now he's got this part to look forward to, and he's like, oh shit, yeah, I'm but then the chef reveals that he knew the whole time, and Margot slaps the shit, or tries to jump over the fucking table and rip his throat out.
I would too.
And I would too. I do not blame her. And the chef points it out too. He's like, can you blame her? You brought her here to die. You not only did you bring her here to die, you paid her to come here and die. So there's that. But then we have this, to be honest, for me, it was kind of comedic. Obviously, Tyler is easy to hate through the things that he does, but in general, like, not necessarily a bad person. But through the course of the movie, and then you learn that he knew that everyone was going to die and still just didn't do anything in general about it. Mm-hmm. It makes, in my head, the following scene kind of funny because he's being told to now cook something because clearly with all of this tasting knowledge that he has, surely he can cook up some god tier food. And he's given the chef's jacket and brought to the oven, and he's like, all right, cook us something, baby. And Tyler's just in the what?
Cook? I cook? Huh? What? I don't cook. You cook.
Me? No, I don't. I can't cook. And the chef's like, no, I insist, please. You must be amazing. And so he just starts spouting random ingredients, like and he comes up with four ingredients. He leeks, shallots,
and some
butter, and lamb chops.
If he actually let that cook properly, I'm convinced that turns into something. I'm convinced that could have been like not the trashiest thing ever. But then he just didn't cook the meat.
Maybe. Who knows? If it wasn't done in like 5 minutes, because also the lamb was like severely undercooked, like obviously so, and he still was like, meat's done. And I love that. What do they call it too? Like Tyler's bullshit or something. What do they call the meal? Because eventually the movie gets real snarky with the titles of some of the stuff.
No, it wasn't The Mess. That was a different dish, I'm pretty sure. It might have been called Tyler's Mess. That is a great question. I cannot remember at this moment.
I think it was like Tyler's bullshit or something along those lines.
That sounds right. So after he embarrassed himself and then gets embarrassed by his chef, presumably, chef whispers something in his ear that just destroys this man. And he hangs himself in the closet. Yeah, what a movie! What a movie so far. And there's still a little bit more.
But like at this point, it's really we're at the real like it's kicking off point.
Yeah.
So there's like by this point there's like not actually too much to go, but yeah, I mean this is a real like if you hadn't felt like you were at the beginning of the end before, you're at the beginning of the end now. It also makes me really wonder what the chef clearly he just berated him but under his breath, but it makes me really wonder what specifically the chef said, because the Chef Slowick has a couple of like really fucking cold ass lines in these movies. I wish I'd quoted more of them, but when Tyler's still alive and he's like being called out. I remember this one. He tells Tyler, "You are why the mystery has been drained from all art." And I was like, oh my God. What a way to just ruin somebody.
Really lay into
just
them. Take
everything they love and just destroy it. There's also actually on the topic of things that get whispered to people, when I think it was during the bread arc, the finance bros call Elsa over to who's the house, what do you call it? She's a host, the hostess. There's the fancy French word for this, the maitre d'. Yeah, that one. She's the front of the house, and she comes over and answers their questions. She responds, no fucking bread for you losers. And then to conclude the interaction, she leans down into one of their ears and she goes, "You will eat less than you desire and more than you deserve." That was such a fire line. I thought that was an incredible line. So there's a couple of times where like they obviously they're the bad guys, but they say the writing on these specific moments is just so good. I couldn't help but just be impressed with those specific things. I was like, I'd shrivel up and die on the spot if that was me. Holy shit, just take my whole ego and rip it to pieces. Yeah. No, those are wild.
I found Tyler's exit and like point of frustration from Chef to be the most interesting, because he works so like my understanding of like the meta commentary going on is fuck all the people who like try to pose as like a chef essentially, or like try way too hard to like compare or bring yourself to like a chef's level without doing any of the hard work, which is just cooking, right? And I was like, this is kind of mind-boggling that like he just straight up didn't cook anything. I'm just here like, bro, you watch how many shows? You learned so many things about, innovative food science and this and that. And you just never cook. Like I was expecting him to just kind of like, yo, let me make a grilled cheese real quick, chef. Let me show you what this cheddar cheese could do for you. Or something like super dumb, and then he still gets ripped into or whatever. But no, he just seemingly he just doesn't know how to cook anything at all.
He just completely froze too. Like he's being put completely on the spot in front of these people and the chef that he adores. So yeah. I mean, I agree that like maybe you want to always keep that grilled cheese in the back pocket in case you need it, but. This is a high stress situation. Maybe you forget you got the grilled cheese and you call for the shallots and the lamb chop. Unless he's making some fancy ass grilled cheese I don't know about.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned Elsa. Did my brain's winding down? Did you already talk about her interaction or her altercation rather with Margot?
No. So we get that point. You want to talk about it?
So yeah. At one point. Margot gets invited back to the kitchen again. After Chef just, I guess, takes a liking to her, and he's like, "Oh, you're one of us now. I made a decision for you. You're welcome." He says that Elsa forgot to grab a thing from the smokehouse, so now it's Margot's job because she's the new girl, and I don't know. There's something weird going on there with pitting people against each other in a competitive environment, I guess, which sucks. So she goes to the smokehouse in the dark. She's freaking out because just lonely girl with a flashlight and a key to a dungeon, essentially. Finds this barrel that he's looking for. Elsa follows her because I think Margot. The scenery changes kind of threw me off. I think she. Did she stumble her way into the chef's house, or did she intentionally walk there? That part I got a little confused by.
It seems like it seems very intentional that she went into the cottage.
Okay.
Because she goes to the smokehouse first, finds a knife there, and then I guess she just went there because it was the most obvious place to get a item for protection. She may have just thought that the house itself wouldn't have any. So either way, it seems very intentional that she goes to the cottage. If anything, to find a phone, maybe if my assumption would be that if there were anywhere on this island that had a phone, it would be in his home. So, but then she finds this shortwave radio instead, and that functionally the same idea. So, but first she takes a quick tour. It's also really weird because the inside of his cottage is an exact replica of the inside of the restaurant, just with a bed.
Oh,
so
I didn't pick up on that. I saw the kitchen, but I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, no, it's the exact same setup pretty much. I think even down to there were less tables and chairs, but I think there's also the same floor to ceiling windows that you see out onto the water in the actual restaurant, but on his cottage just look out into the forest or something, I guess. I don't know. But there's just a bed off into the corner. Basically where Tyler and Margot's table is in the actual restaurant, there's a bed and nightstand there. Everything else is basically the same as the inside of the restaurant, down to the silver door that leads to his room, this office space in his actual cottage. We don't know what's behind the silver door in the restaurant still, but maybe it's the same thing. Who knows? But behind silver door number 1 in his cottage is this sort of shrine and to a bunch of different news clippings of his accomplishments over time, leading to his probably first one, which was an Employee of the Month plaque for some fast food place that he was just burger flipping, which I guess is probably the start of his culinary journey. And then we have the call, and then she gets back eventually with the barrel that he asked for, even though doesn't ever say what specifically is supposed to be in the barrel. He just says, go grab a barrel from the smokehouse.
Yeah.
And she does it. And it seemingly has no real purpose. Not even sure why, because Elsa, just before she dies, points out that the chef never once told her about a barrel. She didn't forget. The chef never said anything about it. So the chef clearly has some higher purpose for Margot. But yeah, so Elsa had followed Margot into the cottage. They have a small struggle because Elsa is jealous. She thinks that Margot is going to end up being her replacement and tries to kill her, fails as she gets killed herself.
Mm-hmm.
And then Margot returns once more to the dining hall with an indiscriminate barrel.
Yes.
Looks more like a cake.
And then did Dale show up yet?
This is when Dale shows up.
Yeah. So she pulls out, presumably we don't see it, but she puts out a distress call on the radio. Seemingly the Coast Guard arrives and it's Dale, some guy named Dale who's, what do you call it? An officer in the Coast Guard. So one thing leads to another. John Leguizamo's character writes "help us" on a paper for like an autograph thing to this guy. And they think that the officer is gonna like help him out. He's like, "Everybody freeze! I got a gun. Blah blah blah. No one move. No one get hurt." And then it's a prop gun that's actually a lighter, and it turns out just to be a guy on staff. And he goes back into the kitchen when he's done playing.
Did you see this coming?
No, I definitely thought they were just gonna like chop up Dale or shoot him. Did not think jail. Did not think Dale was a double agent. Did not see that coming. Maybe I
I'm in the same boat,
but definitely did not. Very surprised.
And then we got the final scene, more or less, where Margot takes this knowledge that she gained of the chef having been a burger flipper at one point, and she specifically has taken note of how happy he looked in that photo. And so now she's trying to use that. She's trying to leverage it into, I don't know why she thinks that this is going to get her out of the situation. Or maybe it's just one last like play to get good food in her before she dies. But either way, she gets the chef to cook up this burger. They have this seemingly kind of sentimental moment together where she's getting him to describe all of the facets of a cheeseburger that make it great. And, you know, they're like, she wants it medium. He's like, medium's the way to go. It's like American cheese. And he's like, American cheese is quintessential. It melts perfectly. It's the only way. It's the best cheese. And all of these other things, you know, I'm gonna make this cheeseburger that is gonna make you think that it's the first time you ever had a cheeseburger or whatever it was, or take you back to the feeling you had when you had your first cheeseburger. And you know, they cook it up. They make a real big deal of showing that Chef Slowik is actually really enjoying making this cheeseburger. So sort of proving that Margot is right in that he would really enjoy doing this, and it brought him back to a different place, a different time, whatever. And, you know, they have this sort of tense moment where she asks for the food to go, and he kind of tosses it around for a minute, realizes that, you know, in one way or another, he has been made to cook up food with actual love for the first time in a long time. And so because of that, he lets her go, presumably. That's the way I like to interpret it anyway, because they have a whole conversation about how they don't actually make the food there with love. They make it with obsession. So, and I think that in and of itself is also probably commentary on higher end food making as it stands.
Yeah.
I think that's not out of the question to make. I'm not in the food industry whatsoever, but that seems like across different media I've seen with it, and the very sparse details I've heard here and there. It seems like that's a pretty easy commentary to make on high-end food coursing and restaurants as a whole, that they make their food for the purposes of making money or having some obsession rather than actually caring about feeding people, which is the base form of cooking. It's wanting to feed somebody. So whether it's yourself or an actual different person, it doesn't matter. So she ultimately gets let go and is able to drive the boat away while dessert is served. And dessert is finally everybody killing themselves. And I gotta say, There's a lot of things you can tell Chef Slowick to go fuck himself on in across the entire movie, but we didn't have to throw shade at s'mores, man. Like s'mores in and of themselves are like they're a fun dessert. It's the process. I get the comments he's making specifically about the ingredients where he goes, oh, it's fucking sugar water condensed into a solid and the fakest chocolate you'll ever find. And then cement grade graham crackers. And I'm like, okay, look, but like that's true if you just go to the supermarket and buy those ingredients. But I mean, the marshmallow you can't do much about, but like you can get the good chocolate, you can get the good graham crackers, we can spice this up a little. It doesn't have to be so base level like you're talking about. And also don't use just regular chocolate, people. Make a s'mores with a Reese's instead. Chocolate and peanut butter. Add the extra layer. It's so good. But I digress. We didn't need to throw shade at s'mores like this. And then there's a part where you gotta cook up the marshmallow over the fire, and it's like a social event because I don't think I've ever made a s'mores when I'm not amongst a group of 8 other people around a fire. Like I'm never just sitting at my house heating a marshmallow up over the stove, like that doesn't happen. I'm not making s'mores that way. Making s'mores, I'm at a social gathering. I'm with my favorite people, all I'm saying is put some respect on the s'mores.
Yeah, I agree. At first I was like, maybe they're like not hating on s'mores, they're just really trying to put an emphasis on the fire cleansing and purifying everything and death and blah blah blah. So I understood the shade at like the dark chocolate and being like, oh, it's unethically sourced, and I'm like, yeah, that's real, that's true, okay. And then he just threw shade at marshmallows, and I'm like, bro, what's up? Like, why are we mad at sugar and water and then made into a soft pillow that tastes great or whatever? And then he gave shit to graham crackers, which I can kind of respect. Base graham crackers, whack. Cinnamon flavored graham crackers, acceptable. And I thought he was saying that like all 3 of these things suck. But if you put them together over a fire, you make s'mores, and s'mores is great. That's what I understood, but maybe I'm wrong.
I'm pretty sure he leads. I'm not going to claim necessarily be right, but I'm pretty sure I could have swore he claims that s'mores is just like the worst thing ever because it combines these 3 awful things.
I believe that. That would make sense.
Yeah. You also you don't make a s'mores by putting the sandwich together and then heating it up over the fire. You roast the marshmallow and then you sandwich it between the graham cracker and chocolate. You don't take the whole thing and fucking burn it over a fire. I don't know a single person that's ever done that. That sounds like psycho behavior to me.
I can't say I've made many s'mores in my lifetime. I think there was only like one weekend, and by weekend I mean like one night we had a fire and a large enough group of people passing around marshmallows and whatnot. But I'd be willing to try this. Just make pre-construct your sandwich and then just somehow heat it up over the fire, s'mores style properly. I'm not sure how you can even make that work, but I would try. I want to see if I could do it or not.
You would need to have like you need to have like a holder for it. You need to have something that pins the 2 graham crackers or the marshmallow and chocolate between the 2 graham crackers, and you have to hold it like a press. You need like a tiny panini press to hold over the fire. For this, like I don't know. It's just logistically unsound, in my opinion.
Mayhaps, simply.
But then everyone's dead,
and then everyone's there except
everyone explodes.
Margot makes it to the shoreline. She looks on and she chomps down her burger some more and wipes her cheek with the menu in the gift bag. Also, did they see what was in the goodie bag? Did they ever show it?
They don't ever show anything, but he does describe what's in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I remember is the menu. He says the menu's in there, and I think specifically in the wife of the old couple, that dude's finger is in there. And because while he's listing things that are in the bag, he says Mr. Liebrandt's finger, and then they flash to the wife and she looks in and she's disgusted. So I assume they just put the finger in her bag and not they chopped up pieces of it and put it in everyone's bag.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be that. Who knows? But yes, they do. I don't remember any of them outside of the menu, but he does describe a couple of things that are in everybody's goodie bags. None are relevant. None of them mean anything.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought I lost you for a second. I didn't hear any noise out of you.
I'm going down. I'm shutting down, Captain. But the lapse is in my brain.
I see. Yeah.
I'm having many passing outs here.
I am going to take this moment to specifically highlight one fun fact that I thought was really cool and funny. Allegedly, through the development of the movie, all of the main actors that were in the room playing the people trapped in the it seems like it was mainly the ones who were trapped in the restaurant and not anyone else, and not necessarily, well, actually the main cast. Well, I'll lump them under main cast. Allegedly, the main cast of actors were offered one freebie take after the director secured the take that they wanted for the movie. Like they do a normal take and they're like, cut. All right, that was perfect. We're going to use that one. All right, now you guys, if anybody wants to use their freebie, are allowed to try and improvise material for this scene. So like they could go off script and try and say something dumb or funny or interesting that wasn't in the script. And from what I read, seemingly basically none of their freebie takes made it, except the scene where Chef Slowick talks about Taco Tuesday. That was apparently improvised. Taco
great.
Tuesday when he was a small child, and how he, I think it's really just the introduction of Taco Tuesday, where it's like Tuesdays were taco night, and then he has that like very whimsical look about him and he goes Taco Tuesday, and he looks over at his mother and all that. Like apparently that was improvised.
That's great.
So but everyone was allowed to have one of those moments. He was just the only one who made a good one. So that I could find anyway. There may have been more, but I could only find records of this one. So
nice. Before we close out, I now remember to bring back my contentious question. So as far as you're concerned, you're saying everyone in that room can go to hell, right?
There are varying levels of it. I said it earlier and then I thought about it afterward. I think the woman, there are two women that kind of probably don't deserve to go to hell. The wife of the older guy, of the old couple, she seemingly just like, really the old guy kind of didn't either. Even, I mean, he was cheating on his wife, but like that's like fuck you, but you don't have to like you don't like deserve death necessarily for it, but fuck you, but the wife seemingly did no wrong other than visit that place 11 times and mistake halibut for cod in that one moment, where she got called a dumb donkey or something like that by the chef. That was really funny. And then also even less deserving to go to hell, probably not deserving at all, is the woman that was with the movie star John Leguizamo's character.
Okay, I'm glad we recognize this. She's just an assistant, and Chef John asked her like, "Where'd you go to school?" She went to Brown, which is Ivy League school. He asked if she had any loans, and she said no. And he's like, "You're gonna die." And I'm just here like, bro, what? What is this? What does this take?
In my head, I think he specifically says you're still gonna die.
Yeah.
I think he recognized that she did not represent any of the problems he had with people. Like this, there's the specific people in the room that he deems as ruining the mystery of his craft. Tyler is one of them. The critic is the other. And I mean, the editor by proxy. The movie star guy doesn't really. He just has a personal vendetta against movie star guy because on one Sunday when he had a break in between like 3 months of straight work, he watched a movie and it sucked. That was like his whole reason for why that guy was there.
What a wild claim, by the way. Just why am I here? You ruined my life.
You ruined one Sunday of my life. So I guess he also doesn't really deserve to go to hell. he seems like kind of a sleazebag anyway, but maybe not death worthy. But the girl that he's with especially is just like, he's like, damn, I like really have no beef with this chick, but on principle, you have to die. so he's like, yeah, sorry, sucks to suck, I guess. So yeah, I out of everybody, the two women, and I guess honorable third mention, John Leguizamo's character doesn't need to die either, but everybody else in that room can go to hell pretty much.
Fair enough. I'm glad we've come to this understanding. That was important to me.
Okay.
That assistant did not need all that smoke, bro. She didn't deserve all that.
No, she did not. Okay. Well, with that being said, it seems like we've gotten all of our closing thoughts out of the way. So I'm going to move on, and I'm going to ask you to use the last, give me 10 minutes. Keep those brain cells going for like 10 more minutes.
Try my best.
And let me know what you think the budget of this movie is.
I know what I said last recording, so I'm going to stick with it. $30 million.
Yeah, that's more or less right. The number I have I think that's the number that Wikipedia gives, but I use IMDb as my base, and IMDb says $35 million.
Okay.
Really, who's counting? So with that part out of the way, seeing as you cheated that part, you fucked.
Perhaps.
What amount of money did the movie make?
All right, I kept saying 60, and I'm pretty sure 60 was wrong, so I'm going to go with $70 million.
You trended upwards, which is good, which was a good idea, but you did not go far enough. Damn. This movie made a total of $80 million worldwide.
Damn. So you do 30 and times 2 and an extra 2. So like that's real profit. That's okay. That's oh yeah. That's a respectable amount of profit.
Yeah, they made money on the movie. Not like a tremendous amount, but they made money.
We didn't fail, and that's what counts.
No. We didn't fail, and we made a semi-decent movie. I'd say a good movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I gotta say, of maybe any movie we've watched, this movie might have had the best Letterboxd reviews.
Oh, I can't wait!
Like across the board, just kind of had the everybody was flexing their funny bones in the Letterboxd reviews, because I literally had to tear myself away from the website because I was just going to keep writing. I wrote down 8 reviews, Justin, and I definitely could have written down more. I'm not going to have you guess all of them. The ones I don't have you guess, I'll probably just like run through a series of honorable mentions because there are just so many that are that good, at least in my opinion. But anyway, let me read you the first review, and I'll also let you know that this review had the most likes on the Letterboxd page of reviews for the menu, and probably one of the highest liked reviews I've ever seen. Tends to be the case on the newer ones we watch, so because people are just more used to these movies, or more people are watching current movies as opposed to like The Outsiders, which we previously watched. Not many likes on those. So this one, most liked review, it says, never thought I would leave a film being surprised that cannibalism wasn't involved. And honestly, same. I was expecting at some point that they would serve human flesh, and they did not, which was fine by me, by the way. Totally okay with that. How many stars do you think that review was worth?
I'm gonna give it a 3.
Oh, not this time, buddy.
Damn.
We started off with a 4-star review here.
Damn.
Yeah, not a strong start, but I think we can bring it back, maybe.
Mayhaps.
I have a review here that I think you're gonna especially like. You it's a phrase that you love, and you say it all the time, and it's just your favorite way to describe the 1%. This review says, "Eat the Rich, the movie."
That's a 5-star review right there.
That is a 5-star review in your heart, but for this person, it's a 4-star review.
What a coward! What a coward!
Yeah, it does sound like a 5-star review, but alas. I'm a little disappointed in myself.
People aren't willing to commit these days.
Yeah. I'm going to give you this time a slightly more serious review as opposed to jokes. But this person says, it's going to start off with a joke, but I promise you it's not that way the whole way through. The rated R Ratatouille we didn't know we needed. It's pretentious and on the nose in how it calls out pretense, but then it folds back on itself and calls that out too. I cried twice and I have no idea why. It's not that kind of movie. I need therapy. Bravo. I never say bravo out loud. I don't know why I wrote that.
Bro, this isn't a 5-star review. I'm going to bed.
I mean, you're going to go to bed anyway, but that was a 5-star review.
Let's go.
That was indeed a 5-star review.
You know, speaking of bed, that first review you read, I didn't hear a single word of it because I blinked really long and I missed the entire
cool.
review.
So you just guessed.
I just said a 3 because I think my brain was still stuttering. I was like, wait, I think he read it already. Just say a number quick that people must know.
You son of a bitch. He's fading out fast, people. You'll hear that review when the episode releases. I'm not reading it again. That's your problem. Oh man, I have a semi-longer review that is also on the serious side, but I'm afraid that I'm just gonna hear snoring by the end of it. So now I kind of don't want to read it. Maybe I'll just stick to the shorter end ones. How about this one? I've got here. I'll give you this shorter one based off of a conversation that we had earlier. Can't even begin to tell you how furious I would be if I wasn't served bread at a restaurant.
3.5.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I ain't scared much.
You should be, because that was a 4-star review.
Ooh. Tell me if you like it or hate it. Don't be wishy-washy.
I mean, they just hate the one scene. That overall, it can still be a 4-star movie. I feel like that one scene is enough to ruin this
whole movie for somebody.
Yeah, the no bread was enough to knock it down 1 whole star. Leave them alone. Clearly, they love their bread as much as the next guy. Probably more.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the point here.
All right, I'll read you 2 more. I'll read you the longer one while you seem more awake. I'm glad the menu never takes itself too seriously, because the movie is at its best when it gets extremely goofy, which is often. The story may veer into the predictable side of things, but like the film's ornate food presented to its posh patrons, it's all about the journey. It's always a treat to see the elite get humiliated, but highbrow foodie culture needs to get dunked on more often, and the menu is maybe the best, or at least my favorite, to do it.
Hell yeah. I'll give it a solid 4.
Oh, nice. That is a 4-star review, my friend. All right, we got 2. Can you get 3? I don't know if you or anyone else has gotten 3 right stars before. I think
I've had a 2 streak at most.
I want to say somebody must have done it at some point, but I'm also not entirely sure. But regardless, I'm going to read you one more. It's a short and sweet one. When Anya Taylor-Joy clapped like that, I immediately got on my knees. I didn't find any thirst reviews in the first couple of pages of the letterbox, but I saw except for this one, which, I mean, in this movie there's not a lot of really hot, exceedingly hot anyone. Yeah, some people might be into the Nicholas Hoult type character, but or unless you're really into the finance bros, but otherwise there's really not a whole lot to thirst over.
I don't know, so man. Anya Taylor-Joy, her face, she's so pretty, and the way she just looks at people, her eyes, bro, it's her eyes. She's got aura, she's got menace. Like when she claps, forget when she clapped. The second she looked at me on screen, she could have stabbed me and I would have said thank you. Her eyes could just, I don't know, take down an entire country, honestly.
I went to the comments of that review also, and a lot of people were taking note of the big Doc Marten black boots she was wearing, and they were they were all asking to be stepped on.
My people, they clamor for me.
Finally, my calling.
What would I rate this? 5-star reviews. Fuck it.
Oh, so close.
Was it a 4?
4.5
okay, never mind. I was never gonna get it ready anyway.
Yeah,
why are they knocking off half a
4.5.
point? Just commit to the 5. What are you doing here?
I don't know, man. Yeah, this is the wishy-wash. You know, like what really here knocked half a star off? I mean, come on. So yeah,
tragic.
Also, side note, I've been doing this more often with Letterboxd reviews, where instead of just looking at the most highly rated ones, I'll also look at some of the most recent reviews. And I don't know what happened or what's going on or what simulation I live in right now. The most recent Letterboxd reviews, some of them are coming from the year 2566.
What?
There's a whole host of people that came from the future, 540-ish years in the future, and rated this movie. I don't know how it happened. I sorted it by. Actually, I think this was me sorting it by like highest ratings. I think I did highest ratings, and for some reason the highest ratings, I mean, it's all 5 stars, obviously, not that any of the contents of these are necessarily commendable. I just took note of the fact that the years say like January 2565, October 2566. I'm like, what is going on? What happened here?
Great question.
So, good to know that Letterboxd still exists 500 plus years into the future, at least, that you can still make reviews on it at a minimum. That's cool. But yeah, we've done it. We finally made it to the end here.
I survived.
This one ran a bit long. You survived, kicking and crawling sleepily across the finish line.
Yeah.
I will do you the favor and take us out for the night so that you can start getting ready for bed. Just don't forget to hit the stop button in about a minute when I'm done. All right.
Take me out.
Keep you awake for that long.
Take me out to the Hawthorne.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. This was, again, a bit of a longer one, but thank you for listening all the way through. If you did, we really appreciate it. Specific shout out goes to Rin, our patron, who recommended this movie to us this month. You are awesome. We love you. And thank you for your money. I would like to direct all of you lovely listeners, to our social medias on Twitter and Instagram. That's at Panda Sightings. You can also send us emails at pandasightings@gmail.com. If you would like to more specifically interact with us, you can join our community Discord that you can find the link to in the description or in the link tree of the bios on our social medias. If you'd like to support us directly, the Patreon is the way to do it as well. We also have a Redbubble for specifically stuff that comes from our One Piece podcast. To be determined if there will be any Panda View stuff specifically. At some point we should maybe get the Panda View logo in there as a sticker. I think that's probably the most appropriate thing.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to merchandise about that. And I think I've covered all my bases. So I'm going to go tuck Justin into bed now. He's a very sleepy boy, and he has earned it quite frankly, he's earned sleep. He's a hardworking boy, and he came to do this doubleheader for me when no one else would. So I am gonna tuck him in now, get him a nice tall warm glass of milk.
How dare you?
So maybe I don't appreciate him as much as I originally said. What have it? Fight me.